fierce when I came to college up here. And you said start with grade school. I wasn't anywhere close to here in grade school.
Just tell us where you
But I was born in Texas, and then when I was a couple of weeks old, we moved to Mississippi. And then when I was 6 years old, my dad passed away after a long siege with cancer. And a couple of years later, my mother remarried, and my stepdad had itchy feet. So we lived all across southern United States. And I went to school about every place you could think of. But I thought what I'd do is do a little bit of Glenn's. I thought you were going to scan pictures tonight, so.
we're taking pictures.
Anyway, Glenn's grandparents came in 1975. Lewis's, as he already mentioned, settled 1875. They all got here about June, but Lewis's stayed, planted a garden, and had a nice garden going and everything. But the Grays thought they were going to Oregon. And they got almost to Rock Creek, and the women rebelled. They said, leave that pretty valley. And then, of course, it was all that sagebrush to Rock Creek. And so the story was the women went up on the hill, told the men if they wanted to be with them, they'd have to go back to Albion. They left the kids down with the men. They were pretty smart. So anyway, the men decided, well, they didn't want to go to Oregon without the women, so they all came back to Albion. Well, by then it was a little too late to plant a garden, but the Lewises were kind enough that they shared all of their garden stuff with them. So they became quite close over the years. But this is a picture, and this was taken just before Glenn's grandpa died. And it was the only picture they ever had taken. And so I thought that was a good picture because they did come back in July 1875. And they settled, well, on up what's Skaggs Place now, right by the creek. And then Glenn's, someplace here, but, oh, go ahead, here. You wanted to do this one? Now, he said he could make us look beautiful in there, so I'm taking him at his word. I think he's going to have trouble. But anyway, Glenn's mother and dad then, when she married, she was the youngest of the Gray children, and she married Walter Clark, and they had settled on a little higher up the valley. There's a really nice orchard up there now they call it Clark Orchard. We used to always go up there and get fruit, but now Skaggs won't let you up there. Anyway, this is a really, I think right after they were married in Rupert, then they went and had the picture taken. So that is their wedding picture. Well, I guess I need to back up a little because, yeah, I need my walker to hang on to. But anyway, Glenn's grandfather, they had an election for Cassia County in 1879, and Glenn's grandpa, Charles Monroe Gray, was one of the 3 county commissioners who was elected at that time. I copied this down to the courthouse a long time ago. So if you want a copy of this, you can. And then his grandpa was really a good carpenter, and so they logged out of what they call Gray Canyon, and it's still called Gray Canyon, which is just south and west, if you look back of our place. And I've got a really good picture of this someplace. But I think maybe Nancy took it off the wall in the bedroom. Because I went up to get it and it's not there. So I'll have to tell her to bring it back. But then this was up there on the Skaggs place. And one year to earn money, the American Legion tore down what was left up there, which you can see how the original part was put together, how they had done the logs and stuff to fit together. There is a better picture someplace. And then, like I say, there's a real good picture of this, and it lists the people who were in the picture. And I'll try to get a hold of that picture before you do anything. And I think that's, oh, the other one I had. Oh, Glenn did say when he went up to school, Miss Berg's class, he cried the first day, I guess, and ran home. But his mother made him go back. But kids weren't the only ones she scared. Because when I was here going to school, oh God, the student teachers who had her would always come back bawling. I didn't know any of them that ever got through a class with her without coming back to the dorm crying. They just couldn't do it quite to suit her. Anyway, this is a picture of the school. It was just south of where the old Mahoney Ranch out there. It'd be on the corner of what's Earl Worthen's now. And have the names of all of them on here. Bob Price was looking at them before we started. And he knew just about all of these. So if you want to make a copy of these two and this picture. I thought you were going to bring a scanner. I could have scanned it at home. But anyway, so I didn't come up here till 1949. And I had to work from my room and board, so I lived with Weisels, and happened that Glenn lived next door. And his mother said he spent many a night in his room with his door shut so he could look through Weisel's house because it was about all windows. I didn't know I was being watched, but it worked out okay. Because we got married in 1951 and had a long, happy life. And I could tell you a lot more about Glenn's school life, but I think I'm going to give Teresa a copy of some of the stuff that the girls wrote, Grandma's stories about the early days. It would take too long to go through that, but I'm going to give you copies of those. You can go through and pick out what you want. And
Who are your kids?
what?
Who are your kids?
Oh, my kids? Well, I think everybody here knows them. Linda, Clark, Moore was my oldest, and then Margaret Clark Miller, second one, then Grant Clark, Grant Monroe Clark, I guess named after his grandpa, great-grandpa, and then Jean Howard Clark. I don't know where we got the Howard, and then Kenneth D. Clark, and then Nancy. So those are our 6 kids. And we lucked out. We didn't have all girls or all boys. We had 3 of each, which worked out just great.